is the best premium defender? Which Manchester United midfielder should you pick? And why should Arsenal's new signing be avoided? I've asked the experts your key questions, and I'm going to be bringing you all of the data to help you build your team for game week 1. Help me get this video to 1,000 likes and subscribe to the channel. Let's get into it. Kicking off with some strategy then, I've once again asked the experts which premium they're planning to start the season with, and this is getting more and more stark. So many going with Salah only now. That is up to 88% from 79% when I initially gathered the experts' information for their early season shortlist. 6% going with neither, 6% going with the double up. Remember, I've got the double up on my latest draft. Make sure you check that one out as well. Haaland only, well, none of the experts are planning on going there. That's really, really telling results. I wonder how much this will change in the final week of pre-season. Now, I also asked the experts how they're planning to set up in terms of formation, because with the addition of defensive contributions being added to the game this season, there has been a lot of speculation. Can we go big at the back? Can we spend more on defenders? Can we captain defenders? Well, the experts are still very firm that they want to play 3 at the back, 3-4-3 and 3-5-2, equal with 47% of the votes. 6% of the experts are looking at 4-4-2 with no other combinations under consideration at the moment. So the change to defensive contributions isn't changing how we set up our teams, at least for game week 1. Maybe that's a trend we'll see as the season progresses. Now, the other big piece of speculation is, with the addition of double chips, do we use bench boost in game week 1, allowing us to set up for 15 players and with an early wild card, maybe getting that squad structure in better shape a few weeks into the season. 59% of the experts are avoiding the bench boost, 41% are going with it. That is a number that is increasing. As more budget picks come under consideration, it is opening up that bench boost. Obviously, a lot can change in the next week. With what happens in the summer transfer window, a move for Dubravka can certainly open things up as well. And I know some of the experts are looking at bench boost game week 2 as well. So watch this space when it comes to that strategy. Moving into the defence then, and I asked the experts for their favourite £6 million defender. There's 9 options in the game. Only 3 options came back as results in the poll. And this was stark as well. Virgil van Dijk up to 69%. Remember, he was only represented by 11% of the experts' first drafts. But the injury to Gabriel has changed things, shifted the momentum in Van Dijk's favour. Arteta's told us that Gabriel could still be available for game week 1, but the experts are not interested. He's left my latest draft, and I'm sure he has a lot of yours as well. We see overall Van Dijk selected by 23%, Frimpong 26%. And this is quite interesting because since I've polled the experts, we have had news that Bradley at Liverpool has got a little bit of an injury. So maybe we don't need to worry about potential rotation for Frimpong in the early phases of the season. So maybe when it comes to locking in the final experts team next week, we could see Frimpong back as a contender. Aït-Nouri and Cucurella, very popular options overall, and still popular among the experts as well, but the momentum is certainly with the Liverpool captain. Now, when it comes to the budget defenders, so those priced at $4.5 million, it's Ezri Konsa who holds firm as the favourite option among the experts. He's the second most owned defender overall in 23.6% of teams. The only player with more ownership than him in this price category is Wan-Bissaka. He was very heavily owned in the experts' first drafts, made the shortlist. He's now down to 6%, 32% owned overall in the game, and we do see Diouf come in as a different option from West Ham, someone that could perform very well when it comes to those defensive contribution points once again. Now, Anderson, 1% owned overall, 13% backing him in the expert squad. Some nice early fixtures for Fulham and some defensive form from last season. Another one where Defcon could be positive. And we also see a couple of Palace defenders in Richards and Lacroix come out of nowhere. Massive differentials in the game, both owned by less than 1% of managers. Not masses of ownership among the experts, but they're certainly in among it and should be considerations. Chris Richards, 18%. He did very, very well in terms of defensive contribution points last season. However, some tough early fixtures for Palace. Is that a bad thing? Not always. When we're searching for these defensive contribution points, you often need those tougher games to get those actions. I'll be interested to see where the experts do land with their final team here, though. The last consideration among defenders, and something that I've seen a trend among quite a lot of drafts I've seen within the community, is the popularity of Nottingham Forest defenders. Now, they are quite popular in the game overall as well, but some really interesting results. Milenkovic coming out as the top defensive pick with 47% of the vote. He would have been the top scoring defender in the game last season with those defensive contribution points added. Only 3 points ahead of Murillo, who's quite significantly less owned at the same price point. So if you are struggling, if you do want to spend $5.5 million on a Forest defender and you're not sure which one to go for, hopefully the experts have helped you out here. 24% of the vote also goes to Neco Williams. He comes in at $5 million, so a little bit cheaper. The best fullback in the game for defensive contributions last season. He's got the attacking threat. Forest certainly have the fixtures early doors to keep clean sheets, which is why we've seen these options so popular. But what's really interesting is that none of these Forest defenders actually made the expert shortlist. They were in less than 10% of the expert squads when I asked for their first drafts. They are now becoming increasingly more popular. Really low owned overall though. Milenkovic 8%, Murillo 5%, Neco Williams 3%. It's Aina at 18% overall, who is the most popular Forest defender among FPL managers. But the experts' advice here is to choose one of the other three in this Forest back line. Moving into midfield then, and another trend that I've seen in a lot of the experts' drafts is going heavy on Liverpool attack, with the double up of Salah and Wirtz being very popular. And as things stand, 47% of the experts are looking to double up on this pair, with 53% going with Salah only. 80% obviously going Salah in first drafts among the experts, 43% in first drafts for Wirtz. Their ownership overall slightly lower, 56% and 34% respectively. But it's still a very popular strategy. Wirtz has performed very well in pre-season, which will certainly be helping his case as well. Now, if we move on to Manchester United midfielders, Bruno Fernandes has had a very hot pre-season, and I'm starting to see him crop up a lot more among the FPL community. So I've asked the experts, if you were to buy a Manchester United midfielder, which one would you go for? And this is stark. 88% would go Bruno Fernandes. He's had a little price increase this season to 9 million. He may be deeper lying. That means more chance of defensive contribution points. The most creative player in the Premier League. He's on set pieces. He's on penalties as well. He's got masses of routes to points this season with that change to the scoring matrix. Interestingly, he's only 13% owned overall, and Burmo owned by 17% and Kuna 11%. Not a lot of love for them among the experts teams though, and that again is something that is fairly significant. So keep an eye on that pre-season form. We know Manchester United assets are popular in the game. If Bruno starts strong, you could miss the boat. Now, the $6.5 million price bracket in the midfield seems to be confusing a lot of managers as well. And Dye is still the firm favourite among the experts, 65% voting for him. He's only 12% owned overall, interestingly. We are seeing a trend upwards for Declan Rice. He is owned by 7% overall, represented by 23% of the experts teams, doing very well in the predicted models for how he could perform at the start of the season, which will be helping him with the addition of the defensive contribution points. Kudos, his popularity is going down. Only 6% of the experts would pick him as the best asset in this price category. Still 26% owned overall. And probably the thing that's most confusing is the midfielders to pick under 6 million. None made the expert shortlist, i.e. they were owned by less than 10% of managers. But there is a clear favourite emerging, and that is Nottingham Forest, Elliot Anderson. 69% of the experts would pick him at 5.5 million in this price bracket. 3.7% owned overall. So he is a bit of a hidden gem in the game. I am seeing a little bit of a trend for managers looking at Aston Villa attackers and maybe going a bit off grid with which picks they're going for, and Marlon is getting 19% of the vote. He's another one to keep an eye on. Now, speaking of Aston Villa attackers, I have asked the experts who is their favourite Villa attacker. I am seeing a massive uptake in the teams that I'm seeing on social media picking Ollie Watkins. 59% vote him as the best Aston Villa attacker to start the season with. Morgan Rogers, 41%. I think both are very good picks. I think there's probably an argument for going both, or at least doubling up on that Villa attack, but no love for Tielemans or Marlon here. It'll be interesting to see if Villa do get a penalty over pre-season, whether it's Watkins taking them, whether it's Tielemans or someone completely different. Overall, Rogers owned by 25%, Watkins 14%. Some great early fixtures for Aston Villa though, so it is well worth investing and sticking with Watkins. I also asked the experts for their favourite forward priced at 9 million. There's only two to choose from, Gyökeres and Watkins. 94% have gone Watkins, only 6% have gone Gyökeres. Now this is completely different when you look at their ownership overall. 24% have gone Gyökeres since he was added to the game last week. Watkins only in 13% of teams, so that trend between the community and overall managers is vastly different. I imagine there's a lot of Arsenal fans that are clamouring to get their newcomer, but if you follow the experts' advice, fixtures are key. Aston Villa have them. Back Watkins over Gyökeres. But we do know from what Arteta said that Gyökeres will be on penalties. Now, sticking with forwards, the other big dilemma, which 7.5 million forward to go with? Still very spread the results here. 64% had gone with Solanke in their first drafts. His ownership, his favourability now down to 38%, hasn't played a single minute of pre-season, which is starting to worry the experts, but they're still hoping that Solanke is fit. Some great opening fixtures for Spurs. He's still more popular than Chris Wood, who also has great fixtures. His popularity is going up. It was 23% of experts went with him in their first draft. 31% would pick him as their favourite pick in this price category. Another trend is João Pedro, less popular. He's still 53% owned overall in the game. 48% of the experts went with him in their first draft, but only 19% would say he is their favourite pick at this price point. And Mateta, we've seen him in red hot form in pre-season, but the experts haven't had their heads turned there. They're still, looking at the other options, Solanke, Wood and João Pedro over him right now. I hope you found this next instalment of the Experts video helpful. Help me get it to 1,000 likes. Subscribe to the channel as well. I'd love to hit 40k subscribers by the game week 1 deadline. This video was actually in early access for channel members. If you are interested, hit that join button. And one other key piece of information, I will be going live on Friday rating your draft. So hit the notify button. That'll let you know when I go live. Thank you for watching.